Live.
All right, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's good to see everyone here this morning. It's good to have those of you who are turning in on the Facebook Live. We appreciate everyone that's here. We are continuing on the series of What If It All Goes Right by Mindy Odlin. I can tell you we didn't get through very much in the first one, and we're probably not going to get through very much on this one, so there's a whole lot of book that you're still going to want to check on. And I really highly encourage you to read this book. It gives you a lot of good information about how to get a group together and practice the what-if upping and help each other to see those visions and create different ways of looking at things. So I really encourage you to get the book and read through the whole book. And you know, that's the way I love to have my classes. I want participation. I want everyone to give their opinions and give their ideas and make comments during the class. That, to me, that's what makes this class special. And everyone's input, it just amazes me that the input that you get and how you can get a different perspective by something that someone says and you go, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. So I always appreciate all of the commentary. We're going to try putting the mic right in the middle and see if that will pick it. Is it on? Did we turn that on?
I'll check.
And see if that works. Kat is listening to it. If that doesn't work and they can't hear, then we're going to go ahead and start grabbing
Wouldn't
the
have been
mic.
able to because it was.
Put it on.
It's on now.
And I think James is going to be my mic man. Okay, so we're going to take just a couple of minutes right here and just center and bring our awareness to right here where we are. So if you feel comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. I want you to be conscious. We're going to take a nice deep breath in and release. Take another nice deep breath in and release. Take just a moment to feel the chair underneath you. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel the air around you. Take another nice deep breath in. And release. We are so grateful for this morning, for the beautiful sunshine, for the people who are online watching, for all of those who are here right now. We are grateful for the insight that we're going to get, for the amazing comments that we will receive, and the ability to make changes in our lives with something that may never have occurred to us, but will have a profound impact on our lives and the lives of people around us. It's an astonishing thing that something small can have such an impact. And we know it's true, and we are so grateful for that. And so it is. Amen. All right. So I am just going to kind of give a quick overview of what we went through last time, because it's been a few weeks. I was supposed to do the second class the next week, and my wife got COVID. And so I was not able to be here. So it's been a few weeks since we did it. So one of the things that Mindy says is that there are two words that hold within them the power to create and the power to destroy. They are two of the most powerful words in our language, and we use them every day, whether we know it or not. what if? And we do, because you stop and you think of, if you really think about it, because I read that and I thought, really? But then I stopped and think about it, because all day long, you may not say it out loud, but you're in your mind, you're going, what if such and such happens? What if so-and-so? What if I say this? What's going to happen? What if they say this? What's going to happen? And we do that all the time. All day long, we do that. So what Mindy talks about is being more conscious of those thoughts, being more conscious when we do say what if. What if, are we what if downing, what she calls what if downing? Oh my gosh, worst case scenario. Or are we what if upping? What if something really good happens? But so often we are really unconscious of the thoughts that we're having. Hi Dee, it's good to have you back. Yay. Dee's back. Okay. So we talked about the fact that everything that was there has ever been created began with a thought. And these are basically kind of like the core principles of the book. That the thought elicits a feeling. The feeling inspires us to take action or not. And the action determines our reality. That is the whole process of all of this, is that creating that reality. Okay, so she says, unexamined and unconscious thoughts reflect an observed reality. Somebody just cut me off in traffic. Oh my gosh, there's my observed reality. Somebody just cut me off in traffic. What are these unconscious thoughts that are happening? And these unconscious thoughts generate the feelings that cause us to act in the ways that create and reinforce old reality. Somebody just cut me off in traffic, and I am ticked. I am mad about it. You know, oh my gosh, why did they cut me off in traffic? You know, and this never occurred to me until I started doing this. Because they reinforce the old reality. I'm mad about it. How dare they cut me off in traffic? And I stopped and I got thinking about it, and I thought, why does that make me so mad when someone does that? And the old reality is, I feel unseen. They did that because they don't have any respect for where I am or my proximity. They don't care that I am right here. They should have seen me, and they didn't see me. I don't feel seen, and that whole reality, the whole backstory of this, I don't feel seen and I don't feel heard. And that's why it makes me so angry. And it's like, wow, it never would have occurred to me before, but now that it has, it completely changed that whole thing where, you know, I mean, and there's not any reason. We all know there's no reason, you know, if somebody cuts you off, it's because they didn't see you, or because they're about to miss a turn and they've got to get over really fast because they have to get someplace else. Because we all do it. So there's no, it's not happening to you. It's just your idea about it. So it reinforces that old reality. Brene Brown says, stop walking through the world looking for confirmation that you are not enough. You will always find it. And isn't that the truth? You will always, you will always find it. So it says, she says, the process of awakening and becoming enlightened begins when we step outside of our unconscious cycle of creation and begin consciously examining and modifying our thoughts. Our life then becomes a laboratory of limitless creative possibilities. Absolutely limitless creative possibilities. Okay, so she says that imagination, starting with imagination. And, you know, I love the fact that we get to watch our 20-month-old granddaughter every day, Monday through Friday, and we get to pick up our grandson who's 8 and watching them with that imagination and watching I made little rock people and painted little people on rocks, and I've got all of our family, you know, and she carries that rock around, and she'll come and she'll like, Mama, and brings her mom's head, you know, and she plays with them and sticks them places and rearranges them, and you can just see these wheels turning. Have no idea what's going on in there, but you can see these wheels turning, and that imagination of being able to create things. So Albert Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. And we as adults, how far do we let our imagination go? When you really stop and think about it, how far do we let our imagination go? Before all of a sudden it's like, well, that's not possible. Or how? You know, Sue says all the time, get out of the how, because the how will stop imagination dead in its tracks. Yeah, Steve.
It just reminds me of something I read.
Let me grab the microphone for you.
I think,
Sue.
can you, we're gonna leave it right there and see if you can hear
Okay,
it.
sorry.
Yeah, she's got her earbuds in,
Okay.
so we're gonna see if it works this way.
Sorry.
That's
Okay. A study where they asked people, if you could travel any place in the world, where would you go? And really interesting result was like 80% shows something within 200 miles of where they live. Isn't that limiting your possibilities?
Yeah, because your mind unconsciously stays in that how of these are the only places that I could feasibly actually go. You know, we do that with Julian, our grandson, in the morning, and then we pick him up, and when we're taking him home, we do questions. We'll ask questions, and one of his questions was, if you got to be invisible for 3 whole days, what would you do? And I know, right?
That's interesting.
Right. What would you do? Somebody tell me some of the things that you would do if you got to be invisible for 3 whole days.
Sleep.
We get that. Yes, says the man with the tiny baby. What else? What would you do?
Fly on the wall, here's your chance.
Yeah, you want to be a fly on the wall? Here's your chance.
Swim with the sharks.
Swim with sharks.
Ooh.
Yes, Elton.
I might try and get on an airplane and fly to India and go see the Taj Mahal.
That's what I
Might
was.
be able to do that in 3 days.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is you could. It took me a while to get to that, but then it was like, wait a minute. I could get on an airplane and go anywhere, you know, and see anything, and then fly home. Yeah. So yeah, that limitless imagination. But we as adults really don't exercise that so much, and that's one of the things I love about this. The one-upping is when you do it, it doesn't demand that you do anything. When you're saying, what if such and such happened?
Why not just teleport?
Wouldn't that be great if you could teleport somewhere? Where would you go? But it doesn't demand that you do anything. What if, you know, I don't know, somebody give me a scenario and let's what if of it. Something that seems like it's a not going well or whatever. Come on, imagination, people.
What if our government works for the people?
Ooh.
I was biting my tongue on that.
I was too.
What if our government works for the people? Okay, so what if instead of a whole bunch of attorneys, we started electing officials that are more common people, that have a lot of common sense and understand what it is that we need? You know? What if the voting laws became much easier. You were just automatically, once you turned 18, you were just automatically registered to vote. So it made it easier to vote. You know? Somebody else, what? It doesn't demand that you do anything about any of this. It just gives you an idea. And doesn't that feel better?
Yes.
When it feels better, but it doesn't actually demand you do anything at the moment. All you're doing, and you can just go crazy with it. Okay. So she says there are some things that are havoc-wreaking habits that keep us from loving, and one of them is worry. Worry is what happens when we let our imagination build a future that is in absolute opposition to what we truly want. And how often do we do that? It says worry is imagination cloaked in fear. That's exactly what it is, isn't it? Imagination, because you're making up these stories in your head and your worst case scenario. It says we can't imagine ourselves in a state of peace if we continue to focus on the people who have wronged us. Our brains can't hold both thoughts at the same time. Thoughts, anybody? Good thoughts? Yes.
I mean, that's why I practice therapy. Spiritual belief I was taught is you release things with words. Words have power. You know, I don't necessarily believe they're magical. I think our will is more magical than our words. Will was long before we had the power of speech.
All right. Yeah.
This is how strong language is in our speeches in our lives. The Hopi Indian does not have any words that include anything in the future or in the past.
Wow.
So as they teach their children to speak, children only know how to speak in the present.
Wow. Can everyone hear?
Yeah.
Even though you can hear it online, can everyone in the room hear what's being
Yeah.
said?
I did it.
Yeah. They don't have a language for future or past. Just
It's kind of an amazing thing, and then when you try to live, having been trained in the language we have, when you try to live in the present, it's so difficult. You have to talk yourself into the next step, and then pretty soon you notice that your mind is back into the past and
Right.
out into the future again,
Right.
and then you've got to stop yourself and do it again. But if you've been trained from a child not to see life that way, you just don't see life that way.
what a gift.
Yeah.
Wow. What if religion taught that? Instead of teaching that you're born bad and you're never going to be good enough. What if our religions, because really taught what would Jesus do? Because that's what he did. Was he taught in the now, to be in the present moment. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Judy. That's amazing.
Mary,
Yes.
what if everybody loved everybody? Think how much the world would change. Think of how different politics would be, how much family would be. You could let your imagination just go wild with that idea,
Right.
because you would live in a perfect world.
Right.
Yeah.
What if?
What if?
Yeah. What if everyone? What if everyone just was kind to each other?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kat.
I think this is a really great conversation, especially regarding relationships, because I think sometimes we actually create things in our heads before they really even happen sometimes, or we go through so many scenarios before we're living in, as Denise song says, peace, love, and joy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting to me because as you're working on your brain and elevating to a higher consciousness, we're so wired to do the opposite of what we're all trying to move and align to do. And so even just like observing some things this week, pulling back and recentering ourselves against what the world wants to do. That's to me when a favorite scripture comes up, don't conform to the world. That's to me what I believe Christ consciousness is not trying to beat someone over with that scripture, but rather than to go to the place that Christ wanted us to go to.
Absolutely, and it continues with exactly what we're talking about right now. Don't be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's exactly what we're talking about here. Yes, Wendy.
In my spiritual journey right now, the part that I'm coming to is what if everybody is in the perfect place that they want to be in the whole world? What if the world is not broken? What if I don't need to pray for it to change? What if the only thing I need to do in this moment is say, what do I want to create and experience now?
Wow. How good did that feel? Good. How good did that feel? Yeah. Which is exactly what the premise of the book is that feeling, difference in that feeling. And so that's what the next line says, that when you'll get your thoughts in high alignment, you can say, I trust that everything is going to work out perfectly. When you get out of the how of that, when your next thought is not, yeah, but I trust that everything is going to work out perfectly. And you just leave it right there at that. You don't get in the how of it, or is that really possible? I trust that everything is going to work out perfectly.
Yeah,
Okay.
They have proven that there is something faster than light, and that is thought. You can consciously be in two places at the same time in your mind.
Wow. Yeah. And true.
It may be technically each and every one of us is a wormhole into other dimensions. But that's into another, I know, it's into another deal. I have never gone away, okay, I'm still here, type thing, but that's what they're saying
Is possible.
could be a possibility. So
What
it's
is?
a what if, We got a TV that takes us into just everywhere in the world. It's nothing that you
In
can't
outer
see.
space.
That's true.
Yeah.
Jim.
There are groups of people like in Australia that don't celebrate birthdays. They don't even remember when they were born. They only celebrate your good things that happen.
Yeah.
So I wondered what it'd be like if we had no calendars or no schedules to judge if we're on time or not. And then in that, what would happen if we no longer know what judging is? We all stop judging ourselves as well as others.
Yeah.
And we just expect everybody to be good.
We just expect everyone to be good.
We know everybody's good.
Yeah, we know what.
I'm okay with the holidays, but not the birthdays. We got
Pat still wants a birthday. Yes.
The word that comes to my mind is faith, because ancient Chinese thought, Wing Wei, if you are truly at center with yourself, there is no thought.
Wow. I saw something once that said, okay, let's try this. Okay, everybody close your eyes. Now, I want you to have this thought. I wonder what my next thought will be. What happened?
I want more of it. I'll get more of it.
It became a loop.
Became a
Became a
loop?
loop too.
And you just having that thought
I wonder what will be my next thought.
That's what happened to me too.
was in just a loop. Mine went completely blank. My mind went just completely blank. I was like, huh. So I'm thinking I'm going to do that when I start getting in a loop of something that I don't want to be in. I practice that, saying, I wonder what my next thought will be. And then that moment that my mind just goes completely blank, I just let it sit there for a minute, and then I come back. But it stopped whatever that rabbit hole was that my mind was going through. It stopped it. Yes.
Brandon Bay said that she went to an ashram in India with her husband, that she didn't particularly want to go to, that he did, so she went. And her story is, you know, they went and it was like this, it was this guy that all these people crowded into this room and they were elbowing for room, and she's like, this is not what I think, you know, a master would be like. And so she's figuring, you know, I'm not going to get anything out of this. You know, it's really not what I'm picturing. You know, a nice serene place. And after he gave his lecture, he invited her and her husband to come and stay at his house during their time that they were there. And so she says, you know, they're staying at the house, and he's given them instructions on how to prepare food or what to do. And she said about 3 days later, she realized that she had not had a thought for 3 days.
Wow.
And she kind of went, I guess I judged this guy wrong.
Yeah.
But she said that was the thing. You know, she had peace and she had silence. And, you know, they did stuff, but she said
Just, wow.
it was just silence.
Yeah. The things that happen when we just let go and suspend judgment. Huh? Okay, so she says that wreaking habit number 2 is preparing for the worst, that mental rehearsal. Which, I mean, it's almost like DNA to do that, because it's like the whole thing. Kevin and I had the conversation. He said, you should have said that, Kevin, the last time, where we talked about, you know, that whole thing of there's a tiger right there. And so what if a tiger comes? What if there's a tiger and you're in that survival mode? And so you do think the worst case scenarios. You go through that so that you can survive. And there are people who are in that. They are in survival all the time. They live in that because they're in poverty or they're in an abusive situation. You know, I know that there are a lot of people who have grown up in that, grown up with an abusive person or an alcoholic or someone who was emotionally abusive, and we worst case scenario, and we go through all of the what ifs to survive. But the thing is, those are things that don't serve us anymore. When we're not in that, we're not in survival, and we do that worst case scenario, what really happens is that it's like muscle memory. It's like the more we do that, the more we need to do that, and it creates those neural pathways. That's what we need. Yes, Wendy.
So I went on a vision quest one time with a large group of people and a Native American master there. And we had a truckload of young people come in from LA to do the vision quest. And when you finish the quest, those who want to can go into the sweat and listen to what happened. And there was one young man that had come in and he had his knife with him, and you didn't go anywhere without your knife handy. So when he got into his circle, the master had his peace pipe, and he handed him his peace pipe, and he said, you can either keep this in the circle or you can keep your knife, but you can't keep both, even though they'd never seen it. So in the middle of the night, there were all kinds of noises and horrible things, and finally he made a decision and threw the knife out, even though there were horrible animal noises coming everywhere. And the next morning he woke up and there was a fawn sitting right at the edge of his circle. And he said, I wouldn't have had to throw the knife away. He said, there wasn't anything dangerous out there. And the shaman said, what would have been there had you thrown the pipe out and kept the knife?
Mm. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah, all of those imagined things. You know, I saw something or heard something, and it says we try to motivate our children to do or not do things by punishing them when they make a mistake. So how do we learn to change our behavior? With pain. Then we grow up into adults, and don't learn to change our behavior until the pain is too great. We teach our kids that. We've been taught that right from an early age, that's the only way to change our behavior is through pain. So it says, we know from the story of athletes that the mind trains the whole body. It's like, I think I gave the example of John McCain, who, the senator from Arizona, who was in a concentration camp. And one of the things that kept him sane was playing at a specific golf course. And he played every day. He played 18 holes of golf while he was in that concentration camp. And when he got home, the first time he went to that golf course and played, he played the best round of golf he had ever played. Wow. After being in a concentration camp for 3 years. Wow. Because he had mentally played.
Yeah, exactly.
So she says, habit number 3 is bad storytelling. So she tells a story about when she was young, she went to this corporation and they had hired her to come and talk about some of the computer programming that she was doing. And she was fairly young, and she got there, and there were only about 12 people in the room. But there was a woman in the very front of the room who had her head kind of laying down on the table. She wasn't paying any attention whatsoever. She said she tried all of her tricks to try and engage this woman, and everyone else in the class seemed like they were getting it. But this one woman right there on the front row was making her crazy because she absolutely was not paying any attention, and she felt like she was being really disrespectful. It's like, why are you here if you're not going to pay any attention? Why are you here if you're going to act like this? And she thought, they probably mandated that these people be here for this class. So she said after 3 hours of just struggling and trying to get this woman's attention, they had a break, and she had decided she was just going to tell her, we've already taken attendance. If you don't want to be here, if you think this is a waste of your time, then you can just go ahead and leave, because I'll just put down that you've already been here. But she said she thanked whatever angel put this thought into her head, and instead of doing that, she came up and just said, "Are you okay?" And the woman looked up at her and she said, "I just found out I'm pregnant. And the morning sickness is just killing me. My family said I should probably not come today, but I have been looking forward to this for so long. I was not going to let anything keep me away from this, and I think you're fantastic."
Wow.
But the story she had made up was that this woman was disrespectful and that she wasn't paying any attention at all. She said it completely changed her life telling stories. When Sue and I got together, there was a story, a Cookie Monster story. So there was a guy, he was in an airport, and he had bought a little package of cookies. And he ate one, opened it up, and ate one, and then sat it down. And he said the guy beside him, he noticed all of a sudden he was reading a book, and he noticed the guy beside him had picked up the bag of cookies and ate one. And he was like, so he, continues to read the book, and he eats another one. It's like, this guy is eating my cookies. What the heck? And so this continues, and he doesn't say anything to the guy. He's like, I cannot believe this guy's eating my cookies. And so he finally picks it up, and he takes one, and then he looks in there, and he reaches over, and he offers it. And he's like, the guy's offering my own cookie. It's like, thanks. And so he takes the cookie, and he eats it. And he's like, I cannot believe this. So he gets on the plane, and he's trying to stow his bag, and he opens it up to get something out. There's his open bag of cookies. They weren't his cookies. They weren't even his cookies. They were the guy had bought the same cookies. But he had made up this whole story. And so when we would start making up a story, Sue would go, I'm being a cookie monster. I'm being a cookie monster right now. And so we're making up these stories in our head. So one thing that Mindy said that she's learned from making up that story was to say, as long as I'm assuming, I'm going to assume the best. If I'm gonna make up a story, I'm gonna make up the best case scenario. I'm gonna make up a good one. So let's say that together. As long as I am assuming, I'm going to assume the best. I thought that was awesome. Okay, so we talked about the thoughts elicit a feeling. The feeling inspires us to take action or not. And then that action creates our reality. So what we're trying to do is be more conscious of our thoughts and what those thoughts elicit. So each thought we hold in mind attracts a corresponding feeling based on our past experience. So that's one of the things that Brene Brown talked about in Atlas of the Heart, is that we can't walk in somebody else's shoes because we don't know what their backstory is. We don't know what that past is. So I'm going to say some words, and I want you to rate them, either ugh, just ambivalence about it, or warm fuzzies. Okay, the first word is babies.
Warm fuzzies. Warm fuzzies.
Some people might be going, hell no. Greg might be saying that right now. The government. Junior high. That was an ugh for me. Religion. Bathing suit season.
Bathing suit season.
Bathing suit season. The holidays.
Warm fuzzies.
Gas prices. Corporate America. The past. The past.
Either or.
The present.
Yeah. That's.
I'm liking this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The future.
Bright and beautiful.
So, okay, so all of us had completely different thoughts about that. Something came up for you. The words are neutral. All those words are completely neutral. But we all had something different come up that created that feeling that we were feeling. So it says it's the mental associations that we link with each word that causes us to feel a certain way. And if we think of the concepts that had a negative feeling, then what are those thoughts that you associated with that subject? What thought came up that had you made that created that feeling? If we can get to a point every day when we do that, when we have these thoughts, when we have these feelings, you know, it's amazing how much difference this has created in me with being able to stop that thought process. When I have something comes up and I'm angry, because I have a tendency to go toward anger, to being angry. And then it's like when that comes up, being able to stop that and go, what's creating that? Why am I feeling that? So she says that as we know this, ugh attracts more ugh. Okay? To change your vibration, you change your feeling. And to change your feeling, you change your thoughts. So, to me, for me, this brought up Byron Katie's
The work.
Loving What Is, the work. How many of you are familiar with that? Highly recommend it. I'm going to show you this book too. Highly recommend this. The Byron Katie's The Work. Loving What Is. Because it's the same thing. It's basically what she talks about is there are 4 questions that she asks. Is that true? Can you absolutely know that it's true? How do you react when you think that thought? And who would you be without that thought? So I have the thought, oh my gosh, I'm so irritated at Sue because she's not listening to me. My Sue, my wife. Just clarify that. And so it's like, is that true? Well, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, because we listen to things all the time, and it doesn't look like we're listening to things, but we're actually listening. So I don't know if that's true. Do I know absolutely that it's true? No. How do you react when you think that thought? I'm angry when I think she's not listening to me. I'm frustrated. I'm irritated. I feel unseen. I feel unheard, which is a big trigger for me, is not feeling seen and and feeling heard. Who would I be without that thought? I would be happy. I would be at peace with that, with my life and with what's happening in the situation if I wasn't having that thought. So for me, all I have to do is go, is that true? I don't even have to ask the other 3 questions, because most of the time I can go, no, it's not true. I have no idea if that's true or not. And when I say that and when I do that, it stops that feeling. It's like almost immediately that anger dissipates, that frustration goes away, because I've changed that thought, and then the feeling changes. And that feeling creates a different reality in what's happening in my day right at that moment. Amazing stuff. Yes.
So I'm studying the work of a man named Alan Gordon, and he is a doctor and a scientist. He does not do this woo stuff, but he is helping a lot of people to release chronic long-term pain. And the way that it's done is they take MRIs and everything of the brain. When someone has a pain that is new, it shows up in one place in the brain. But over time, people who have chronic pain, when they do MRIs of their brains, the memory part of their brain begins to be engaged and lights up big time. So it's like they can have 44% of their brain engaged in that pain that has nothing to do with pain, but memory and other thoughts. And so the process he uses is just simply one that begins to disengage the brain from the belief in the danger that they've created, the story that they've created for that chronic pain. And it just is, it is almost as simple as this, of going, all sensation is safe, and there's nothing wrong with my body. And people are there, he's healing people of decades of chronic pain through that. So, that's how we're doing with the story, is we're engaging parts of our brain that then say, let me send these chemicals, let me do this thing, let me send these danger signals, and they show up. And this is interesting because it's totally from a scientific medical perspective.
Right. Well, and if you stop and you think about it, that's how people get addicted to pain medication. Is it's not, they're afraid of that pain that they've had in the past, and they don't want to feel that pain, so they're going to take it in case they're going to have that pain to prevent themselves from having that pain in the first place. But they don't really need it, and then their body becomes dependent on the pain pills.
And
it's not the pain.
And he would say it doesn't matter whether you take the pills or not. He just says it's the mindset that, will just either create more or less.
Wow.
Kind of what cannabis does too, a little bit. If you don't think, notice, or care that you're hurting, are you hurting?
Right.
And the answer for most people is no.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Okay. So at the end of that, the 4 questions, there's always a turnaround with Brene Brown's The Work. There's a turnaround. Is, I'm angry at Sue because she's not listening. And the turnaround is, I don't like myself because I'm not listening. Or I don't like myself because I'm not listening to me. There's always that backstory. There's always that one step deeper to what is the basis for this? What is it? What is happening? What's happening in your backstory that's creating this moment and that feeling? Kind of like me being angry about somebody cutting me off in traffic. It's not about, it has nothing to do with them. It's that I feel unseen and unheard. And it makes me feel unimportant. And that's the backstory of that. That's where that anger comes from. And when we can get to that, a lot of times we can immediately let go of it when we recognize where it's really coming from. Okay, so the what about process interprets old patterns and brings us consciously into the creative process. Instead of trying to fix old patterns, the question, what if, changes the old pattern simply by explaining the focus to a new and improved thought. It activates the imagination so we can set a new creative cycle in motion. And I said this before, what if doesn't expect us to do anything? If we let it, our imagination can go wild and creativity expands. We're not here to do anything. We don't have to do anything in that moment. We're just in creative mode. Julian has discovered Minecraft, which is a video game. And he, in the regular game, there are these creeper things and there are all these things that are trying to get you. But in creative mode, you can just do whatever you want. You can just create this whole world. And it's amazing. I mean, he made a whole house out of diamonds and put a lava moat around it, and he's got skeleton horses, and he's got all of this stuff. I mean, it's just, I have no idea where all this stuff comes from, but his imagination watching him and that creative mode and how excited he gets because of the things that he's done is just fascinating. Like I said, we're not how to do that as adults. We forget how to do that. So she says we break unconscious patterns of creation by introducing new thoughts. Your imagination is the generator for the new thoughts. Thoughts alone will not deliver a full and rich life. Our feelings provide present moment feedback for our thoughts. Our feelings provide present moment feedback for our thoughts. It's, what are you thinking about when you're not thinking about what you're thinking about? So the next time when you're something is happening and you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling angry, you're feeling worried, or whatever that feeling is, take a moment and stop and go, why am I feeling this? What was the last thought I had that's creating that feeling? Because that's what's happening, is your thoughts are creating those feelings. And then when we listen to them, we begin to experience the reality described by Thoreau when he wrote, our truest life is when we are in dream awake. I know, isn't that amazing? So stepping into our truest life requires that we build strength. And she goes through 5 inner qualities. No way we're going to get through maybe one. So the first one is imagination. The second one was wisdom, enthusiasm, non-attachment. We do a whole class on non-attachment, and love. So imagination, she says, is the ability to direct our thoughts and tap into the field of infinite possibilities. So, I've already said this, but what if at some point today something happens and you're feeling yourself kind of what if downing it, or somebody else is what if downing it, and you stop and you go, wait, this is my opportunity, and you start to what if up it. What if, and just let your imagination go crazy. If somebody else is with you, bring them into it. Bring them into it too. What if, and then you start feeding that off of each other. And then notice, as you're doing this, what starts happening to those feelings. And see if you're both not cracking up, or at least grinning great big. by the time you get to the end of that. Something that was starting to create these feelings of angst or that tightening in your chest.
Notice a change in your environment around you as well.
Yes. That's true. Yes, exactly. It's amazing how someone can walk into a room and the whole energy, you can feel the energy of the room shift because of one person. Right. Yes.
On a more scientific note, on the same thought, so we all exert chemicals, oxytocin, I can't think of them all right now, pardon my brain, but those are externally around us just as much as they are internally. It's not just an internal reaction. So one thing to remember in your environment is the people that you surround yourself with are what you're chemically inducing yourself with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, Kat.
I know this week has been emotional, a lot of shifting for a lot of people. Of course, we're also in a major retrograde this week as well. However, I can't help but believe that after Sunday, with Stephanie being here, we really need to just kind of send that positive energy to clear that out, because I don't know about you guys, but as an empath, I was absolutely wiped out when I left, and I didn't even know any of the people on the stage Sunday. It's just like Greg said, being aware of that environment. And I've gotten to where now, if I go to a certain place and I feel that heavy darkness, then I'll shift positions or be like, thanks for fighting me, like short time, love, light, and peace, and move on. And that is something that I feel like as humans we're not really even aware of, most people. So I just want to point out that when we do the crystal bowl today, it might just kind of be good to send that energy, and it's not the spirits, it's those that are feeling that heavy pain and loss of their loved one.
Good, that's good, thank you. Yeah, and they've done all kinds of studies where they talk, and people are constantly saying who you surround yourself with makes a difference in who you are. Successful people surround themselves with successful people. People surrounding yourself with people who are doing better than you lifts you up. If you surround yourself with people who are negative and they're going to pull you down, a lot of times people who are in recovery don't have any of the old friends that they have, and they surround themselves with other people who are in recovery, because those are the people that want their recovery. They're the people that are going to lift them up and want what's good for them. I always tell, I work at a halfway house, and when someone's getting ready to leave the halfway house, I always tell them, surround yourself with people who see who you truly are and who only want what's good for you. And that makes all the difference in the world. Okay, I'm just going to touch on this one really kind of quickly. So this wisdom is the second one. Wisdom is the ability to discern intuitive feelings and take appropriate action or inaction. It's like our bodies intuitively know. Okay, so how many of us have either had ourselves or like a grandparent or a parent or something that had rabbit ears on the TVs? Yeah, and so you would go over there and you would change it and adjust it, and you were standing there holding it, and then you moved and it worked, and like, oh wait, don't move, and then you moved and it's like, nope, go back. And so you go back and you got a really good picture. You can't see the TV anymore because you're standing like this, but everybody else can watch it. So we didn't even think about that, but we're using our bodies as a conduit to be able to have that clear picture on the TV. And so she says, what if there is an intelligence at work within us that we are not even aware of? What if embedded in our DNA, beyond our rational thinking mind, there's an inner wisdom that surpasses our human understanding? So she talks about a study that was done in 1997, where they hooked all of these people up, all of these wires to monitor the blood pressure and their skin conduction and their heart rate, and they had something programmed on this computer, and these images were coming up. Sometimes they were beautiful images of nature. Sometimes they were these horrific acts of violence, and some of them were erotic behavior. And so people had all of these different reactions, all people based on their backstory. You know, people had different reactions when those images came up, and their bodies would react to that. But what was amazing was that they found out that their bodies were reacting moments before they actually saw the picture. I was just like, yeah, what?
What's going on?
Don.
I can attest to that very thing happening, because I have found out that I have a higher self. I call it my divine self, and I keep calling to this self as my link to God. And when I get stuck writing, if I'm writing a poem, I just turn it over to this person inside of me, and it comes. They know what I'm going to be facing, or it knows what I'm going to be facing, and the words come out, and they're beautiful.
Wow.
I couldn't have conjured up those words, but there they were, and he knew what I was going to need before I knew.
And it's amazing, isn't it? And
It is absolutely astounding the way it happens.
Yeah.
I was surprised the first couple times it happened, but I'm depending on it now.
Yeah. And we all have it. We
Yeah.
all have that thing
It's
where
a
the hair
wonderful thing
stands
to
up
have.
on the back of your neck, or something your body just flushes.
You have to.
And you just know something is going on.
You have to acknowledge the presence of this divinity within you, and it knows what you need before you know it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's that thing of we know it here, but dropping it down to here, that's the hard part, is that dropping it down to here, where we don't just know it intellectually, but we know it at a soul level.
Yeah.
We know that to be true. So, yeah, Elby, real quick.
Jose Silva, who developed the Silva mind control system, was working with his children because they weren't doing well in school. And he had one daughter in particular that he would read her history, and then he would ask her questions. And she started answering before, as he was forming the questions in his mind, she started answering before he said the question. And so he started looking into this, and he wrote to the guy that was the head ESP person in Boston or Harvard or something. And the guy said, no, you can't develop ESP. It's something that you're either born with or you're not. And in his training, he found that it can be developed, and that was part of his developing the system that he did was developing that within us by the methods that he used, and it was a phenomenal development that he created.
What our minds are capable of, that we had we don't allow ourselves to think and to dream and imagine what we are actually capable of. So thank you guys so much. I love all of the input. What a great class. Like I said, I highly encourage you to get the book and read it. You can get it on Audible and listen to it, and it's just an absolutely terrific book. I'll probably do some more of it at some point when I have another class. But thank you guys so much for this. So I'm going to James is going to pass the basket around, and I'm going to read the announcements. So, there are the announcements. It had the offertory blessing at the top, and I thought, wow, that's interesting. Okay, Next Sunday at 9:15, the adult New Thought World Religion class will be Greg Lee. Yay! We'll begin a two-part series on practical techniques for maintaining Christ consciousness. Love that. And don't forget, starting Tuesday, September 5th, Silent Sunrise Meditation will be in the sanctuary from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. The pod will be delivered Tuesday of this week, and everyone is welcome to start bringing your yard sale items, because the yard sale is coming up October the 6th and 7th, first weekend in October. So start cleaning out your closets and garages and all of your stuff, and say, does this really bring me joy? And if it doesn't, bring it in here, and somebody else will buy it and go, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I needed this. Circulate that energy. The monthly drum circle will be led by Aubrey Van Hoos this Thursday at September the 7th at 6:30 p.m. Feel free to bring your drum and join in. And if you don't have a drum, please don't let that stop you from coming. The church has several that the participants can use. The Soulful Food Group, facilitated by Kat Bell, will meet today at 4 p.m. This is a women's support group focused on emotional eating. You can join online or in person in Fellowship Hall. And our August outreach project for Sammy's Window was a success. We collected 62 pairs of tennis shoes for foster kids.
Yeah.
Huge thank you to everybody who donated that. That is amazing. And all of you online. For September and October, we will be collecting donations for our Crisis Cold Weather Shelter. There's a different item each week for 8 weeks. And donate all 8 items, and you will be entered into a drawing for $100. This week's item is coffee. So if you didn't know that, and you want to bring it next week, we can still punch your little card, and you can still get credit for it. And then bring whatever is for next week.
Hot chocolate.
Lists outside.
Hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate is next week. There's a little list outside that you can get. You should have a shopping list in your chair, or there's one in your chair, obviously. And there are more on the tables in the foyer. See Lisa if you have any questions. Come and have some fun on September 16th at our annual cornhole and karaoke event. It's from 3 to 7 o'clock. It's $20 per team to register for the cornhole tournament, and you can register on our website or in person in the office. Karaoke is free to all. We're going to have food and drinks available for purchase. And see Lisa for more details on that. That's always a fun thing. The next Art and Affirmations workshop with Freeman, standing right back there, is on September the 26th at 6 p.m. and we'll focus on creating a strong composition and compare this and how we use Unity principles and affirmations to compose ourselves. Elegant Fall Dinner is September the 22nd from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Reservations are either $25 or $30, depending on what type of drinks you want. You can also reserve a table for 8 people for $200. You can make your reservations on the website or in the foyer after the service. The church will be closed on Labor Day tomorrow, and no church-sponsored activities. Upcoming and ongoing activities. The map makers meet on Thursdays from 10 to noon, Saturdays from 10:30 to noon. Men's group is the 2nd and 4th Thursdays at 10 a.m. Abraham Hicks is Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. Midweek Renewal Meditation is the 3rd Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Diversity Game Night is Friday, September 15th at 6 p.m.
Miniature
World
golf.
Day of Prayer.
Miniature golf is that night, just so you know. It's not here.
Miniature golf. This year or this month will be miniature golf. So it's kind of here. The World Day of Prayer is September the 13th and 14th. And Daniel Namod, October 1st. Woo! All right, again, thank everyone for being here.
Really great.
All right, we are going to circle up in the back.
Say goodbye.